Well, good morning. Uh, First of all, I just want also to thank Cittalia and Alvarez for the kind invitation to participate in such interesting debate about the state-urban policies in the main countries of Western Europe, especially when Ernesto has drafted this very interesting report about this issue. I think this report gives us very interesting theoretical tools for the research because there is a method and at least we have elements for a serious comparison of policies today in Europe. In Spain, we don't have anything like that or anything like this excellent report of Cittalia.
Nowhere.
Nowhere. I remember, yes,
today.
It's true.
As of today.
It's not a gratuitous statement. It's true because I remember I used to work in central administration in Spain since 1994 till 2 years ago. And the Ministry for Public Administration, which is actually the ministry responsible for the connections and the cooperation with the local and regional governments in the country. I remember the draft a kind of report about the urban policies, a comparative report on Western countries. And after putting it on the website of the ministry, the Secretary of State 2 weeks ago said, guys, put out it, because the quality of the report was really bad, without real instruments, tools of comparison, etc. So a very descriptive report, really bad, honestly. So, I try to give answer to this question, but I have to make a general explanation and giving partial answer to the question you have put in your paper here. First of all, Spain today is a very decentralized country. We have changed deeply our political system, coming from a very centralized model, as you know, since '77. Now is almost federal system, politically speaking. No constitutionally speaking, but politically speaking, yes, if you take into account the distribution of competencies, of powers, of resources, of economic resources, and human resources of the public system. 52% of people is working, the public sector is working in the regions in Spain today, 52%. So more than the state and local governments altogether. So it's a really decentralized country, and the main actor today in these issues is the regional level. The regional level is the winner of the Spanish process of decentralization. Of course, local governments have much more autonomy and self-government today than 20 years ago, but on the same competencies than before. The transfer of competencies, the process has gone from the state to the regions, not from the state to the local governments. So it's clear. So we have mostly implicit and indirect policies on urban issues, and maybe it's not so bad if you know the elements of the political system in Spain. So of course, we don't have a holistic policy on urban issues. It's impossible in our system. But never we have had it, and I think even in more centralized countries, they never have had also holistic urban policy, or holistic urban policy. And the big question is, which is the framework for a state urban policy in Spain? And for that, we have to know some elements of the legal and constitutional system, and also of the political dynamics in the country. No? First is from a constitutional legal approach, which is the distribution of competencies today on urban policies in the country. So the state have very few tools to build up urban policy in the country. Only important responsibilities on basic legislation on local governments, only the basic legislation, the key elements of the local system, basic legislation on environmental issues. Of course, in some specific policies, the state develop important role, big infrastructures, roads, highways, transportation, crossing more than one region, etc. In these policies, the state has implemented important policies in the modernization, of course, of the infrastructures in the country during the last year, especially thanks to European funds. Not only because of that, but it have helped a lot. And the regions have the main responsibilities in this arena. They have the competencies for to modify the local map of the country, so they can create or eliminate municipalities. They can establish or eliminate the metropolitan governments. It's up to the region, not to the state, this policy. The legislation and the executive competencies on environmental issues, social policies, housing. Housing is basically a regional policy in Spain. Town and country planning. We don't have national legislation today on urbanism in Spain. We have regional legislation, and there is a very important decision of the Tribunal Court about the distribution of responsibilities on this arena, and the decision was terrible for the states. The country, the national level, has not competencies for drafting a law on this, on territorial planning, not at all. And also, of course, the region has important competencies in infrastructures of regional interest, but it includes subways, metro. And in Spain, the policy on this arena has been really important. Well, this is more or less a legal framework, but there is also clear distribution of competencies, very decentralized country, but also it is important to add other aspect, but good tradition in cooperation between state and regions, even when they belong to they are governed by different parties. Good tradition of inter-administrative cooperation. A kind of cooperative federalism is the most common in most of the sectoral public policies in the country today. Well, this is legal administrative framework, but on this basis, the second important question is, there is an interest for urban policy in the country. The main actors, the state and the regions, are interested in build up urban policy in the country. Well, let us see with the main facts has been the last year. It can give us some answers. At the state level, direct decisions concerning the big cities. 2003, governing the center-right, People's Party. And in 2003 was passed a very important law about the big cities. Actually, it was a chapter added to the general legislation on the local government. So no specific law, it was a new chapter added to the general law the basic law for local governments.